Hello Facebook, hello YouTube, Donny Gillson here on 8/9/2012. Before we get into this video, I want to discuss something that a lot of people have been trying to figure out. One, why is Alfred Weber and I changing our minds on Nibiru? Well, this really sums up exactly what we're trying to tell you all. While it is true that scientific evidence shows a celestial body is perturbing the outer planets of our solar system, causing solar system-wide planetary warming and causing demonstrable seismic, volcanic, climatic, and geological visible effects on Earth, it is a scientific error to conclude that the celestial body causing this is Zecharia Sitchin's Nibiru, because that planetary body is a fabrication and a hoax. That was in the new article written to summarize the August 1st interview that I had with Alfred Weber on freedomizerradio.com. We are not stating that there is not a celestial body out there. In fact, I am going to be having the founder of the Hercolubus Eagle Foundation on my show coming up in the next couple of weeks. We'll be talking about this body that I believe is right here to the right, or to the left of this text. We'll be discussing the things that are happening within the inner and outer solar system. And in my radio interview with Alfred Weber, if you have not listened to that, please go back to listen to that. Of course, we are now several days away from when John Moore says this celestial body will be coming in, which I do not believe is going to happen. I believe that we are going to have a dual sun flyby in 2013, which will start at the end of the Mayan calendar of December 21st, 22nd, and 23rd, outlined by Princess Nakamura. We're not changing anything. We're just changing the name. That's it. Because we believe what was said by Zecharia Sitchin was in fact a hoax. And the radio show that you're about ready to listen to will go deep into that subject matter. So, without further ado, I'm going to present to you my 8/8/2012 radio show that talks all about Alfred's article and also this planet called Hercolubus, and also the dark star dual sun.
Blog Talk Radio.
32 degrees of insanity, 9:04 in the PM, 8/8/2012. Donny Gillson live right here on 32 degrees of insanity. Well, it looks like we've got some technical difficulties with www.freedomizerradio.com. When we go to our website, it looks like we get this thing called database error, unable to connect to database. Use Freedomizer has exceeded the maximum queries per hour. Current value 100,000, SQL Server, blah, blah, blah. So if you're getting that, and you've been trying to join us on freedomizerradio.com in the chat room, unfortunately, you can't do that tonight. So what we're going to, well, at least for right now. So what I'd like you to do is come on over to www.ursuadams.com. All you have to do is go to www.ursuadams.com, and when you come to ursuadams.com, you will see up on the top corner, or the top of my website, it'll say 32 degrees of insanity online radio chat. And what you do is just click on that, and you can join us right in the chat room as well. Or you can just come to, if you're listening over on Blog Talk Radio, here is the website, www.ursuadams.com/online-radio-chat. Pretty simple. We'd love to see you over in the chat room. Unfortunately, freedomizerradios.com. I think one of the reasons might be we're getting so popular, we're shutting our own website down. I don't know. It looks like it's just an ongoing problem, but you know, it's awesome to see everybody in the chat room tonight. Thank you for joining us. Of course, on Monday night we kind of had the whole spiel backing up onto last Wednesday night's show with Alfred Weber, where we talked about Zachariah Stitchin as a CIA operative. And tonight, we are going to kind of go in depth into that article that Alfred wrote. I want to, kind of give, everybody's been kind of asking me, Donny, why are you backpedaling on Nibiru? I'm not backpedaling on Nibiru. What I'm doing is I'm calling it by its real name, which is Hercolubus. Now, of course, NASA itself has been tracking Hercolubus for quite some time. But we're going to get into that in a few moments here. But I do want to talk about some of the psychological operations that are happening currently right now. If you have not been paying attention, or if you've been in a cave somewhere, you probably have not seen the video in regards to the large number of tanks being moved out of Southern California, outside of Burbank and Oceanside area. There is a videotape that's circulating right now of this. We saw one last year, right around, I want to say it was April of last year, maybe right after the Japanese tsunami. We saw these huge medevac movement coming out of Southern California. Well, we know that there's a repair area down there in Southern California. And, of course, during all times, they're moving equipment left and right. But what we have not been, and what is strange about this particular movement is the amount of equipment that is being moved. I mean, I have never seen so many tanks on flatbed trains in my life, ever. I wish my dad was still alive today, because I remember when I showed him that footage of the medevac stuff. So he goes, man, we're getting ready for something. What are we getting ready for? We're moving something. We're moving equipment out of somewhere, and we're sending it somewhere. We're getting ready for something. He's like, those are transport units. He said, I remember them well. I used them in Vietnam to get into the jungle. My dad would have been a perfect guy to hit up on, to ask, about all of this stuff. So I find it very odd, the timing-wise. Timing-wise, of course, John Moore talks about, the particular August 17th statement in regards to this he calls it a planetary body, the size of the moon that's supposed to be coming in. I don't know if I agree with that statement, but a lot of other people were talking. One of the things that I shared on my Facebook page today was this weird kind of kite formation that's showing up when we actually put in the solstices on the astrological wheel. And what we see is a possible warning of an August 13th tsunami warning, or volcanic activity, or earthquake activity. Now, a lot of people are saying, we're what, now 106 hours away, well, probably a little bit more than that, from the 17th. But could this be coming true? Could there be a tsunami heading towards, could there be a large earthquake that happens in the Pacific Rim? We know that I called on the Dr. Edie show the day before the Japanese tsunami. I called the earthquake in Japan, I called it in the Pacific Rim. And that was quite amazing. I was quite shocked when that happened. So we're keeping a very close eye tab on what's happening here. I think everybody should be prepared for the worst, but hope for the best. It's the only thing we can do. There's really no science to this. We don't know if this is going to happen or not. I hope it doesn't. I hope John Moore is completely incorrect, and that this is what Alfred and I have been talking about as a psychological operation developed by the U.S. government to get everybody in a mass panic so that they can usher in their new world order and their agenda. Now, what we want to do, and what I have pledged to do from here on out, is to keep the vibration and keep the frequency up. One of the things I mentioned on my Facebook today, and I want to read this to you guys, and I don't know what's going on in the chat room tonight, so also, if you want to call in tonight. You feel free. Tonight's number, 347-324-3704. Again, that's 347-324-3704. As I said when I started this, let's see if Freedomizer's up. Freedomizer.com is not up. So you can come to www.ursuadams.com. Join us. Look up on the top area. It says online radio chat. And at that area, you can join us right in our Chatango chat room. You know, this is great. I'm glad we have a backup. I'm glad that when Tim, my webmaster, made my website, I'm glad that we made a backup chat and a Blog Talk Radio widget for 32 Degrees of Insanity, where, you know, we can actually have everybody, you know, this is a nice little backup for everything as well. So the people that are in the website, if you could share, just put this in the Blog Talk chat room as well. There is the link as well, so that others will have it, and then put it on your websites or on your Facebook pages, so people can know how to get to us and able to listen. Because you can listen to us on our Blog Talk Radio widget right on ursuadams.com as well. This is you know, so we haven't lost all communication, which is absolutely wonderful. All I did was refresh on my and then I noticed that the Freedomizer Radio website is down. Now, one of the things that I was talking about on Monday was some people have been asking me, okay, and actually was kind of shocked when I heard this from fellow, you know, I don't consider myself a Christian. You know, I consider myself a Gnostic. I never really considered myself a Christian. However, with that being said, my Lord and Savior is Jesus Christ. But we all know that Jesus Christ, God, it's not a religion. You know, that's a sense of thought and a sense of faith. It's not a religion. You know, Christianity is a religion. However, you know, one of the things that I have always said, you know, I think there is equality throughout religions. I believe in the, you know, that everybody has their own path to God. But some Christians have been coming back and stating to me, Donny, you are talking about witchcraft when you say we should call on Hercolubus and not call it Nibiru. I'm like, what? How is that witchcraft? I go, we should call it on its rightful name. It's kind of like this. Some people might not agree with what I'm about ready to say, but I'm going to say it anyways. I believe the name Jesus is actually the wrong name. Now, when we call upon Jesus, just Jesus, the name Jesus, we're not calling on the rightful entity. When we call upon the Lord Jesus Christ, and we emphasize the Lord, I believe we're calling on a rightful entity, or we're calling on Yeshua or Yahweh. I believe we are calling upon the right entity. Same thing that I am talking about when it comes to Nibiru. I believe, as the psychological reptilian agenda that Zechariah Stitchin and the Pentagon is involved in, this word Nibiru has some sort of evil, satanic connotation to it. And I believe if this is a energy or a intelligent type of planet or an intelligent type of life source within the universe, we should call upon it as its rightful name so that we are not mistaking what we are calling upon. Do we understand? I don't know if we understand this or not. So, with that being stated, one of the things is NASA is, you know, called it Teak or Hercolubus. Never called it Nibiru. That's why we never get a straight answer from NASA. Because, of course, Nibiru's not coming to get it because there's no such thing. Do we remember the statement given by NASA during the WISE telescope thing? Do we remember that? Where it says, you know, where the caller called in and says, is Nibiru coming to get us? Of course they're going to say Nibiru's not coming to get us because there's no such thing. Hoax.
However, and I love water, guys, by the way. Oh, just love it. It's been so hot in Nevada. Anyways, Hercolubus. I would like to see what they would say about that. Now, I recently had talked to my so-called NASA insider. I published a picture of so-called Hercolubus on my website, on Facebook.com. And this is one of the ways, this is one of the reasons why we really want you to join us on our chat rooms. Because when I do my chat rooms, I do kind of exclusive pictures and links to different things, and I throw them in a chat room. And if you are a Facebook subscriber, or if you have not been over to www.facebook.com/UrsuAdams, you can subscribe to me, because we have too many friends on that side. But you can get exclusive information while we're talking about this stuff on the air. Now, I just posted a picture on my Facebook wall right now of what the NASA insider states is Hercolubus, or AKA Nibiru. I also put in the chat room the link to that particular picture. Now, we have had a lot of people state that this does not look like a fake. And the NASA insider that I spoke with stated that this was taken in the constellation Sagittarius at the end of July in Antarctica. Somebody in chat room is asking how Toto is. Sorry, I digressed a little bit. Everybody, Toto's great. He's sitting here by my side. Thank you for asking. I appreciate that. But I really want everybody to take a quick look at this, because it looks like it has a blue star next to it, which I think is what we call the dark star. And then, of course, we have this large planetary body next to it. The dark star is the dual sun. And, of course, we have a planetary object that is following it along with moons. It is a small system. Now, one of the things that I'm wondering is, could this system itself be part of the Sagittarius dwarf galaxy that I spoke about on Monday, that is actually merging with the Milky Way galaxy? We really didn't get into that side of it yet as much. And of course, I'm digressing a little bit, so I want to go back to what I was talking about in regards to calling upon the right entity. Okay? Now, this so-called planet, Hercolubus, okay, some people are, still can't wrap their minds around this. I want us to start calling it by its real name. I actually talked to the owner of the Eagle Foundation. We talked about that on Monday. We are going to get him on the air here. I'm hoping within the next week or so. I have a Skype conversation with him on Thursday afternoon. He's going to be in the UK, and we'll be doing something. We'll be speaking together on Thursday afternoon, and we're going to be learning about the Eagle Foundation, because the Eagle Foundation talks about Hercolubus and the red planet. Okay, this is a foundation that has been educating people throughout South America, the United Kingdom, Europe, Italy, everywhere about this incoming change to humanity. Now, going back to this thought process on this dual timeline that Alfred and I also talk about, okay? People are still not able to wrap their heads around this, because a lot of people are saying, well, in the Bible, it says we are heading for death. We are, we should fear God, and that we are going to experience destruction. Oh, I believe that is very much true. I believe exactly what Arizona has said before on this radio station. Arizona, of course, is a very big contributor to our station, or to at least my show. And Arizona has seen a lot. He says what the Lord has showed him. However, with that being stated, I think the one thing he missed was something called the rapture. And I want to read something because this is an old document, and I believe it sums up what is going to happen here as we go into a dimensional shift here in 2012, 2013, if this does happen. Now, we had a couple people on my site today saying, if we don't reach the 60% of people to awake, that we are just going to head down this catastrophic timeline if we don't get people to wake up. Well, I think it's going to take one major event to wake everybody up overnight. And I think it's going to be the appearance of this twin star or the 3 days of darkness that Princess Nakamura talks about, December 21st, 22nd, 23rd. Now, I want to read this. It has been indicated by this awareness that in around the year, and this was written back in 1994, by the way, it has been indicated by this awareness that in around the year 2012, a movement into new direction or a new dimension will occur. This appears to be a movement that begins in a more solid direction in 1995, moving towards the point of 2012 or 2013. There are many who would think of this as the time of the rapture. It appears that approximately 25% of the people on Earth at this time, that would have been in 1994, okay, are in a higher spiritual vibration, which would allow them to be raptured if there were the time for the rapture to occur, and that this 25% is growing rapidly, so that by the time of 2012 or 2013 occurs, the majority of people on this earth will be ready for the time of rapture or the enlightenment, and the earth itself becomes the new plane of the consciousness, this new spiritual home for entities. There will be a great change in the very nature of itself, and the most of the negative beings on earth will have been removed and placed on another planet or plane or dimension. It appears that there are numerous other channels who have picked up this and are now giving similar information about the date of 2012 or 2013. The emphasis during the coming decade and a half, this reading was on November 8th, 1994, remember, will be on the spiritual vibratory increase. The increase in the frequency that the entities experience in terms of their spirituality, it will become more and more common for entities moving into a higher spiritual frequency to become forces for not only healing of each other physically, but also spiritually healing for each other. So that more and more the spiritual energies of entities upon this plane begin to supersede material interest and focus. Sounds pretty simple, doesn't it, guys? What did the Bible say about materialistic things? To give away, to just not worry about it. The Eagle Foundation talks about how we are so focused on money and how that is kind of the root of all of this. We're trapped in this. And, tonight we are going to read that. We're going to go in depth into, and if I don't get the calls, guys, it's because I really want to get this information out tonight. I will take a couple calls here and there throughout the show. And again, if you want to call in and speak to us, 347-324-3704. You can definitely join us. You can also join us in our chat room at www.ursuadams.com. Go to the top where it says online radio chat, and you can join us right in the chat room right there. It's our Chat Tango chat room. You can join us as an anonymous user. You can join us you can get your own little screen name and all of that. We're going to be back here in give me about 5 minutes here. We're going to do a couple little commercials here, and then we're going to be back here with 32 Degrees of Insanity as I delve deeper into the thought process that Alfred Weber has in regards to this 2012-2013 positive, negative timeline. Zachariah Stitchin, as an operative for the CIA Pentagon, was he also involved in the 2003 invasion of Iraq? What does that have to do with? Does Afghanistan have a time portal? What does Zoroastrianism have to do with all of this? What does Zoroaster and Brahmanas have to do with all of this? We're going to be talking about some of this stuff because I honestly think that possibly God himself could have been trapped. What do you think about that? We'll be back right after this.
Fed up with the lies, manipulation, and deceptions of everyone else's opinion? Tired of being ridiculed and conforming to other standards because your standards are based in biblical principles? In truth, there is liberty. Blessings, Freedomizers. Join me, Servant Emmanuel, right here on the Freedomizer Radio Network as I host the Sound Doctrine Christian Ministries program every Tuesday and Saturday afternoons, noon Pacific Standard Time, 2 p.m. Central Standard Time, for truth according to the Holy Scriptures. With like-minded individuals who are not so heavily minded that they are no earthly good. Let us stand together, Freedomists, not in their truth, not in our truth, but the truth according to the Word of God. We will have prayer, biblical studies, occasional guests with world news, with issues that are of concern to the body of Christ. Come and fellowship with us as we stand against the coming New World Order. Blessings and peace to your home. Sound Doctrine on FreedomizerRadio.com.
Radio listeners, you all know that the reason for global cooling is global warming. Well, we here at Lake Havasu Snow Removal want to remind everyone that we can plow your driveway or street 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. We are available in the Lake Havasu, Phoenix, and soon-to-be Tucson areas in the cold Arizona desert. So, if your driveway is backed up in the middle of April or in the frozen tundra season of August, please call 855-NO-AZ-SNOW today. Any time of day, any time of night, Lake Havasu Snow Removal will clear your driveway in freezing cold tundra of Arizona. Thank you.
Welcome back. 32 degrees of insanity, 9:34 in the PM, 8/8/2012. You are listening to FreedomizerRadio.com. Looks like we are back up. So if you are listening to us on Blog Talk, if you're in the chat room on the Blog Talk Radio, come on over to FreedomizerRadio.com and join us in the chat room as well. We'd love to see you over there. We've got about 40, 50 people in the chat room, it looks like, right now. So definitely join us on over here, or you can stay over there, or wherever you'd like, wherever you feel comfortable. You don't have to, you just open a new window and just type in www.freedomizerradio.com. You don't need to take that window off and miss anything that we're saying. You can just come on over there, or if you're over at www.ursuadams.com. I want to thank you for joining us over there. Now, as I was saying before I went into break, we were talking about kind of this dimensional shift. Okay, we were, I was talking about how these two different timelines, okay, could be the change in consciousness that the negative evildoers will go down their timeline, their catastrophic timeline that they want, and of course we go down the ones that we want to keep a positive timeline. We get caught up, raptured up, that we go into a different timeline. Now, I don't know if this is going to happen. It could be all science fiction, it could be all thought, but wouldn't it be nice if we prepare for that mentally, consciously, for that to happen? Now, of course, Princess Nakamura talks about the 3 days of darkness. And I'm going to read an article that I wrote a long time ago about the 3 days of darkness. And I've shared it on the show before, but it has been a long time since I've shared it. And it actually has a lot to do with the Catholic thought process of what the 3 days of darkness entails. Now, what the Catholic thought process of it, as far as the 3 days of darkness is concerned, It doesn't paint a very pretty picture during that period of time. What are we prepping for? What is the United States government, military, and army prepping for? Why does NASA tell their families to get ready to bug out? Now, we haven't heard anything about that particular part from John Moore in a while, but I haven't listened to the new John Moore programs, so I don't know if he has or not. But of course, he talked about how his inside source talked about his NASA insider, or his person that worked with the government, the NASA people that were the families will have maybe 72 hours to get ready to get off the coastline. Now, we know we saw a huge traincade of tanks coming out of Southern California. We know that that's an area where they do a lot of repair on things. However, but why would they be moving that amount of equipment on the rail system? I mean, it was miles of equipment. What are we preparing for? Now, my brother, Gary Voss, states not to worry. I'm down here in Southern California. Do not worry, because while I'm down here, nothing's going to happen. I'm not going to allow it to happen. I'm going to keep my consciousness level as high as it can. My brother's very, very in tune, very, very spiritually minded. And if I have any faith that nothing's going to happen in Southern California, knowing that not only is Gary down there, but other spiritually minded individuals in Southern California are down there trying to keep that frequency up, that Mother Nature will act in kind. But what is it going to be that's going to wake us up? What does it have to be to wake us up? Now, I want to read the rest of this dimensional shift in 2012 that was written back in 1994. It goes, in the previous page it was mentioned. In other words, the Earth itself begins to shift into two different dimensions. So, 1994, guys, before even Alfred and I talked about this. In other words, the Earth itself begins to shift into two different dimensions so that the forces of light will have their Earth, and the forces of darkness will have its Earth, and the forces of darkness on its Earth may find themselves destroying their environment, while the forces of light may find themselves improving their environment. And while it was originally the same Earth, it will be likened onto a Mobius splitting, and one part going into a new dimension, the other part going into a lower dimension. Entities may not even realize that they have made the shift. Think about that. Entities may not even realize there has been a shift, but they will recognize that things have improved considerably, or that the things have really gotten a lot worse, depending on which dimension they find themselves moving forward. That's interesting, because I was thinking the same thing. I'm like, this is not going to happen overnight. We're not going to wake up, because when I had Guy Needler on Truth Frequency Radio, on my first show on Truth Frequency Radio, and by the way, I might not have a show this Saturday night. We might not have a special edition of 32 Degrees of Insanity. I might be out of town this weekend. It's possible. I'm hoping that I might be. I'm going to go meet with a brother that I haven't seen in a while. Not my brother, but a Masonic brother. So it's possible I might not have a show this weekend. Just keep looking on www.ursuadams.com and also on Facebook, and you'll know if I have a show on Truth Frequency this weekend or not. But I will keep you updated. But anyways, going back to this. So think about that. We might not even know that we've actually made the shift. And I talked about that on Monday. I talked about this multiverse. And Guy Needler talked about this as well. He said it's not going to happen overnight. We're not going to wake up one day and just say, oh, it's just all hunky-dory and fine. But maybe the switch itself, or the wake-up that we need, will happen during that 3 days of darkness. Because they say after the third day is when the new world happens. Now, could that be when we go through this dark rift that people have talked about, this so-called black hole, possibly wormhole? Maybe it's not a black hole, but a wormhole. And that is when the Earth itself does a split, that all communications, everything is locked down, similar to what happened in India recently. Maybe that was a dry run to see how civilization could handle it. Because, I mean, that's the largest blackout ever to happen in the history of the world. And it was the size of not only North America, but South America combined. Now, us, here in the United States, we're a little arrogant. If it doesn't happen in our backyard, like if it doesn't happen here in front of us, it doesn't mean it doesn't happen. It's like it's not even true. How arrogant is that? I mean, I felt for the people that were without power in India. Come on. I remember I watched this movie once, and this is going to be kind of disgusting what I'm going to tell you, but the movie was called Shit. Literally. That was the name of the documentary. You can find it on Hulu. Watch it sometime. You will be freaking flabbergasted, because India itself doesn't have some parts of India do not have underwater toiletry systems. I mean, if you ever see that movie Slumdog Millionaire, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. Remember when that little kid dropped down? He dropped into the shit. He was all covered with it. He was taking a shit and a poop in a one of those outhouses. Now imagine no place to shit, no power. Here's a huge area of the world. So I felt for all these people, because, here we are, we're still, enjoying our electricity and blah, blah, blah. If it doesn't happen here in the United States, it doesn't matter, right? We need to get our heads out of our asses, the USA, and start looking at humanity as well. That's why I remember when I went over to Europe and I was hanging out in Germany and Prague, they hated frickin' Americans. Thought we were arrogant assholes. I think the persona of Americans is getting a little bit better now. But the American government still is very much trying to control the world. And there is a resistance here. Now, if you were watching the Olympics recently, you'll also notice that when, I think it was during, I don't remember which, I don't know, anybody in chat room can remind me of which area it was, but it was during a medal ceremony, and the Russian flag and the Chinese flag and the American flag were being raised. And you could hear, the American anthem going on, and the rockets red, and bursting in air and through the night, and our flag was still there. And right as that went, our flag was still there. The United States flag fell to the ground, literally. And you could hear the stadium burst up in laughter. You could hear the stadium burst up in laughter, almost like it was funny, but it almost seemed prophetic in a way. You know? You know? But yet the Europeans are judgmental about us, and we're judgmental. I remember, I think Proof showed it was like a world map, and it said, you know, what Americans think of the world, you know, and it said, you know, it looked like a little artist rendition, and, you know, it goes, she Australian, and go, yeah, there's kangaroos there. They make, American clothes in China. They make it was just simplicity of the world. This is how America really looks at the world, because we're so number one. Oh, number one. We are so blinded about what's going on as far as world events. That's why I am so humbled by having my international listeners listening, and my international friends that are on my Facebook page and my YouTube channels, you know, because they're awake. They are. I think the international community is much more spiritually awake than the United States body. Like, for instance, as you know, I've been kind of seeing someone as of recently, and she might be listening right now, and she's like, you know, Donny, I wish I really knew what you were talking about. You know, I don't judge her that she, you know, doesn't understand what we're talking about, but see, this is what the United States average American, you know, they're concerned about going to work. They're concerned about taking care of their family. They're concerned about, who to vote for in the next coming presidential election. They are worried how we're going to get out of this $1 trillion deficit. They're worried about how much taxes they're going to. These are all valid points. I'm not saying that they're invalid. However, there's no spirituality in there. We've lost our soul. Yeah, Brooklyn Girl says, Donny, they're concerned about Jersey Shore. Yeah, everybody's connected to their TV. I mean, I fall into it too. I mean, I gotta admit, I was watching Hollywood Insider a little earlier. You know, checking it out. I keep up on my Hollywood stuff. That's why I don't want to see it go into the ocean, because I kind of find it funny. But yet I try to keep myself a balance of that sort of stuff. You know? I mean, here we go. We see, the Dark Knight. The Dark Knight Rises, the Batman movie. We have a guy, I don't know if he did it or not, but we have a guy that got a huge massacre. But Hollywood plays it off. And the world, associates it with a Batman. Not where did those individuals go? Death. Were they spiritually ready to leave this area? The people that passed away. Even if nothing is coming, we all still need to be spiritually aware. That's what my radio show is all about, and it's what it's always been about, really, is getting everybody spiritually aware and spiritually ready. Some people say, Donny should practice what he preaches. How do you know who I am? How do you dare to say that in my chat room? You don't know who I am. Practice what I preach. You know what? I'm a sinner just like everybody else in this world. I make mistakes, but yet I have the balls to get on a radio show, my own radio show, here on Freedomizer Radio Network and also on Truth Frequency. I get on and I try to tell everybody at least what I'm thinking. I show my face. Everybody knows my full name. I don't hide behind an alias. You know who I am. Somebody today was really nice, and I want to read this to you because I came across this, and it was I get some really touching emails, because I really want to thank, I do. I get some really touching emails from my viewers, and sometimes I see them in comments as well. And I saw something on YouTube today. Let's see if I can find it here. And this person uploaded my, looks like they uploaded my Hercolubus Dual Star 2013 Flyby video. Let's see here. Whoa, what's that? Okay, very strange. That's the one thing. You go to YouTube right now, they got all kinds of little advertisements going on in it. It's crazy. But so I went and I saw this thing. I didn't flag it, because I was like, it goes like this. He goes, I could care less if Donny is on 16 medications, being sued by 10 people, and nuttier than a bag of Planters peanuts. And you know why? Because he treats people with respect. And that is how you can tell whether someone is legit or not. Integrity. People who lack integrity are full of it, no matter how many truths they can twist. People who have integrity, now that's genuine. Be damned any other semantics. And then he was going on, kind of went off on a tangent. He was trying to say that, why are the trolls going after Donny? And, and he's like, I've been trying to get, trolls to hit me up forever, and nobody wants to do that, but they want to, and they're all focused on Donny. He goes, I personally think most of Donny's trolls are paid to troll, because no matter how much I encourage them to trash my videos, they stay strictly focused on Donny. That kind of tells me something. It tells me that that time is money, and my vids aren't on the boss's list of bids to get paid for or attacking. You know what? That's kind of true. Or it is true. I don't know who these people are, and I was kind of going to go into, I was going to trash talk a troll today. I had a really long email conversation with this guy today that, you've probably seen the video. It was this Fife, Scotland video that's saying it showed so-called Nibiru next to the sun. And if you were on my Facebook page today, you saw that imagery. I put the video up. Well, this guy, I showed a 15 seconds of a still from the BBC documentary of Nibiru. If you've all seen that one, that's like 80,000, 100,000 hits to it. It also in that documentary, it shows remember last year in July when I had that video in regards to the new Mars station, the three guys in the radiation suits pointing up at the sky and looking at something odd in the sky, but we didn't really know what it was. Well, my video's in that, and of course, his so-called video is in that as well. I'm not going to say who the guy is. I'm not going to give him that credence on my radio show. But with that being stated, he flagged my video for a copyright. Of course, we know under the fair use, I can use that. And I was actually kind of, outlining his video. I wasn't bashing his video. I was just, trying to figure out times in Fife, Scotland, where it would have been in Fife. If you remember that, it was like 4 videos ago. So the guy flags it as a copyright, and of course I'm fighting the whole thing, and I don't really care less. People are trying to shut down my channel, and I've gotten those videos back, of course. So I had those 2 copyright strikes, and I was all worried. I'm like, oh God, if we get another copyright strike, we're going to be done. Well, this, of course, they tried to go for the third one, but they didn't realize that those two others were back up and, they were taken care of. YouTube gave them back to me. So I had no copyright strike. So now I got another copyright strike. Sucks. But who cares? So one big deal. So I'll get that video back, but it doesn't, what I'm trying to get across is if somebody is trying to communicate the truth in regards to Hercolubus or Nibiru or whatever you want to call it, okay? You're trying to communicate this. I don't care if you have a disagreement with the person, as long as you're both trying to get the same message out. If you might not disagree, you might disagree with that person and how that person handles themselves, but if you still are trying to make the consensus of getting the truth out and not trying to deceive others, then then we're moving down, we're working as a team. But this video is a hoax. Because, one, I looked at all the comments and I see all the usual suspects. I like to call them the usual suspects. There's a team out there. I know we've gotten emails, and I'm probably going to get another harassing email from this particular individual that I have now, reported, not only to Gmail, but also to several other organizations, and probably listening right now. I really give a shit, and I anticipate his email. But here's the thing, and I said I was going to do a segment on trolls, so this is my little segment on trolls. Okay, bear with me, guys. Bear with me. Okay, we'll get into the Zacharias Pigeon stuff here in a moment. But it seems like I'm always getting attacked. That's the underlining message here. And I want us to be very weary about anything that has to do with Nibiru right now. Everything that I've showed you thus far in all of my other videos, and I'm protecting all of my videos right now. All my research is protected. All you guys are going to be able to see right now is what is going to be available on my Facebook channel or on my my YouTube channel. Or my radio show. Right now, everything is protected. It's not going to be going out. We're downloading every single video right now, and so that research is protected because we know we're being targeted, and we're not going to take. We need to keep that information for everybody. I mean that information that I have done, the research, the tons and hours of research that I've done, I'm not moving back on any of it. I mean, I've showed you guys wonders in the sky that make, But here's the interesting thing, and I was thinking about this, and Alfred and I'm going to take a quick break here. And we're going to come back, because I'm going to segue back into Alfred's mem here that he... the 2012-2013 Nibiru Flyby mem hoax. Did Zacharias Station cooperate with the U.S. intelligence in setting up the 2003 invasion of Iraq and the 2012-13 Nibiru Flyby memorandum? Because one thing I thought about in time travel, and Alfred and I talked about this. Of course, we had Andrew Bizzago, we've had Laura Eisenhower. Speaking about Laura Eisenhower, we're going to have her back on the air this month, hopefully. We haven't set down a date yet. I'm hoping maybe the day after my birthday. I have to recontact her and find out when we're bringing her on the air. But she did want to come on in August to talk about time travel. Hopefully we'll get Andrew Bizzago involved as well. I have an open invitation to Marshall Masters if he ever wants to join me. But that's the team right there. And we are trying to work on getting out the right information, and including the Pythagoras Conference. And we haven't really talked about that. And if you have looked at my YouTube channels, you haven't seen that we're going to talk about ticket giveaways. we are actually going to have the president of the Pythagoras Conference. She was supposed to be on a couple of weeks ago. She had there was kind of a misunderstanding of times. So we are going to get her on. We're trying to reschedule that right now. I've been talking to her assistant. We're trying to figure out a time to get her onto Freedomizer, because I think it'd be a better platform to bring her on. Because I believe in October, when the Pythagoras Conference comes on, and I really think you guys should really think about going to this Pythagoras Conference. If you haven't learned about the Pythagoras Conference, all you have to go is pythagorasconference.com, or just go to my website, www.ursuadams.com. Right off to the side, you will see the I think it's 66 days until the Pythagoras Conference that'll be taking place. You can buy tickets on my website. You get $100 off if you put in the promotional code Don. It is expensive. I'm not going to lie. It's $399, $499 if you don't go through my website. I get nothing out of that, of course. I get nothing. I'm promoting the conference. The money that the conference is taking in is to bring all these great speakers in. They're making nothing off of it as well. They're going to reinvest it into the 2013 conference as well, which will be bigger and grander. Of course, my brother will be speaking at this 2012 conference, because this 2012 conference is going to be, from what I understand and what Sandra is going to be discussing when we bring her on the show, is how humanity is going through a change. And every single speaker, including Princess Nakamura, is going to be there. And Princess Nakamura, if I can get out there, and I'm hoping to be there in October, that I can actually sit down and talk to Princess Nakamura in regards to this 3 days of darkness. So with that being said, guys, I'm gonna go into I see we've got some people 480-701-469. If you'd like to call in, 347-324-3704. Again, that's 347-324-3704. I am going to take calls at the bottom of this hour, so about 10:30. I'll bring everybody on, because I do want to get through this article with Alfred Weber. I want to talk about this article because I have promised you guys I was going to do this. So we're going to do that at the top of the hour. Bottom of the hour, we are going to bring on callers. Feel free to call in, 347-324-3704. If you are listening to us on Blog Talk, stay right where you are, but just type in www.freedomizerradio.com and join us in the chat room. We've got 30, 40 people in the chat room right now. A lot of our great guests are regulars in there. Mo's in there. Brooklyn Girl's in there. Ren's in there. Good to see all you guys. It's so great to. Above Clouds is in there. I think Hans is here. I haven't seen Eagle yet, but we've got all of our regulars in there. Oh yeah, Hans is in there as well. So it's good to see you. Leo the Co is there. I think you're new. I haven't seen you before, but yeah, join us here. Yeah, Dat the White King. What's up, guys? It's giving you all out of holler, because these people are bread and butter. They definitely are the core of what Freedomizer Radio is all about. They stick around for all of us here on this radio network. We love you guys. You've been great listeners and participants in our chat rooms, and we really love to see you here. So I'm going to go into a quick break here. Again, if you want to give us a call, 347-324-3704. God, I got that memorized now. I never thought I'd do that. 347-324-3704. Hit the number 1, and we will bring you on. Kevin, I will get you on as soon as possible, so just stick there, Kevin, and we'll I'll get to you in a little bit here.
Yay! Le Chupacabra! ¿Por qué?
Are you tired of losing your herd of goats to the Chupacabra? Are you worried about how you're going to eat because your goats were viciously ravaged? Call SNL Chupacabra Insurance today. SNL provides fast, speedy claims in the event of your goat farm being destroyed. Low rates, fast service, and professional attitude is what makes SNL your choice for Chupacabra Insurance. Call 855-CHUPA-NO today. 855-CHUPA-NO. for a freeway quote. SNL Chupacabra Insurance, just in case the Chupacabra comes.
Ay, 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 la Chupacabra!
Oh, yeah, aye, la Chupacabra Insurance. It is 10:10 in the p.m. on 8/8/2012. You are listening to your host, Donny Gillson, on 32 Degrees of Insanity, right here on the Freedomizer Radio Network at www.freedomizerradio.com. Want to thank you all for coming back, listening to us. Of course, last hour, if you're just joining us, you can listen to the last hour. We will have, after this show is done, you can listen to the archive, or, of course, I will be putting this back up. I'll be putting this back on YouTube probably the end of the week, if you want to listen to it back on YouTube at the end of the week. I'm kind of letting shows sit for a little bit until we get at least, 10 or 11,000 people that have listened to the show on the YouTube channels. Of course, it's kind of what I've been doing now. I haven't really been doing a lot of videos. However, I am working on a new video, guys. I really am. Because today on my website, on my Facebook page, where you can get all the information. If you ever want to keep up with that, what's going on with Donny, all of the subscribers, you can always join us on our Facebook page, www.facebook.com/Ursu Adams. Of course, we've got over 5,000 friends, but you can subscribe to us. I'm seeing that the subscriptions are going up, every day. We're getting people subscribing to us, and you definitely get updates that way as well. It's free. You don't have to pay anything at all. We've got great people on our Facebook page that keep everybody informed of what's going on. And one of the things today on my Facebook page, and if you are listening to us on Blog Talk, or if you're listening to us in the archive, right now, come on over to freedomizerradio.com, because I'm going to be putting an exclusive link into our chat room, but the only way to look at the link or look at the picture is you have to be part of our Facebook family as well. But one of my subscribers put today on my webpage an interesting thing with Saturn. And it looks like Saturn has done a complete bull shift. From when we looked at it back in September of 2010, or not Saturn, I'm sorry, Jupiter. When we looked at it back in 2010 to what we looked at it now in March of 2012, we see that the eye itself has done a complete flip. First look at this, people would say, "Oh, Donny, it looks like you photoshopped it, or you stood on your head and took a picture of it going the other way." Well, no, it's not, because actually Space.com actually released this as well, calling it a flip. So I talked about one of the largest storms that happened on Jupiter back in 2010. And if you have been looking at my radio shows on my YouTube channel, you will see that I'm showing imagery of this very bright star from the WISE telescope. Ladies and gentlemen, what you are seeing there is the dark star, the dual sun, with its bodies rotating around it. That is the Hercolubus system. Now, going back to time travel, and remember when I talked about how the Zacharias Sitchin picture of Nibiru looks just like the one that we saw on that I've showed you, with a face in it. Wonder if and this is just throwing this out here, guys. Wonder if they saw what was going to go on through time travel. They've known about me. They've known about Marshall Masters. They've known about John Williams. They've known all about who is going to be lined up with what. I mean, even Alfred and I have wondered, how did we connect? Alfred's a futurist. Alfred's been talking about this since the 1970s. He wrote The Age of Cataclysm back in 1973, and it was published in 1974, talking about what is happening. Right before last hour, we were talking about the dimensional shift in 2012, an article that was written back in 1994. I'm going to actually read that quote one more time. In other words, the Earth itself begins to shift into two different dimensions, so the forces of light will have their Earth, and the forces of darkness will have its Earth, and the forces of darkness on its Earth may find themselves destroying their environment, while the forces of light may find themselves improving their environment. We're talking about two different timelines here. The Bible talks about that too, rapture. You know? Guy Needler talked about this. It's not going to happen overnight, but we are heading to a different consciousness phase. You know, have you ever thought about, you know, one of the times, and I think I've told you guys this story before, that my dad, one time, I love my dad. You know, I miss my father. You know, I hope he's in a great place where he is right now with my grandmother. You know, I dedicated one of my videos to him on Father's Day, of course. My dad named after me. I'm junior, he's senior. And my dad one time said, you know, that he was downtown Minneapolis, and he saw me get out of the limo. And he saw that I was dressed up like in an Armani suit, and he yelled at me, and I guess I turned to him and looked at him. And then I walked into the IDS tower and went on my merry way. And he couldn't understand why I didn't stop to talk to him. And then I saw my dad like several days later. I'm out walking around, you know, my dad and I hook up. He's like, son, I saw you downtown. What were you in a limo and why were you in an Armani suit? I'm like, what? He's like, no, I saw this. Could it be possible that my dad saw a different me in a different dimension? That even our higher selves, our multiverses, we have different realities happening. Kind of like what has happened. You know, I talked about the show Fringe, the J.B. Abrams show on Fox, where we have two different timelines going on as well. I'm going to read the rest of this here. Will the lost continents of Atlantis and Lumaria resurface soon? Now, this is why I say we need to focus on positive timelines. Because I don't think that these extraterrestrials that are out there, and I don't know if it's the Anunnaki or whatever you want to call them, reptilians, Draconians, Pleiadians, or whatever, I don't think they're in our best interest. Because the reason why I don't trust them is because we have gone through this before, and I talked about the 7 races of Hercolubus on Monday, and these different races, and that we are one of the 5th race. We're the Aryan race. But we talked about the Atlantean and Lemurian races, the ego, and all of this, and how we have been destroyed before. Well, why didn't aliens or extraterrestrials intervene then and give us the knowledge? Because they are self-centered as well. Their ego. They're part of their races on their planet. Remember how I said it's different on each planet? There's 7 races. We're all going through the same stuff. So there's still ego. Remember Roy Martin, who has been a contributor to our show, said, you know, everybody's going to all get on these ships, so they're going to say, oh, we're your saviors, and watch Earth get destroyed, all blah, 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 blah. We have to be very careful at this point in time to understand that nobody can save us but ourselves, and all the rest of it is a psychological operation upon ourselves. Now, in a recent article with Alfred Weber, the 2012-13 Nibiru Flyby mem hoax, did Zachariah Stitchin cooperate with U.S. intelligence in setting up the 2003 invasion of Iraq and the 2012-13 Nibiru Flyby memorandum? And we're going to go deep into this. Well, I'm not going to go as deep as I'd like to. But we're going to go here. Stitchen's fraudulent Sumerian translations. During Alfred's August 1st, 2012 interview, Mr. Weber summarizes his conversations with an unnamed confidential source who had intimate business dealings with Zachariah Stitchen over the course of many years. According to this source, Mr. Stitchen translations from the Sumerian were subjected to analysis by an expert translator who found them to be an utter fraud. Stitchen, for his part, was extremely litigious about his translations and would sue any individual, publisher, or firm that sought to do any independent research on the Sumerian translations and texts. Mr. Weber's sources speculated that the deep pockets Stitchen had in pursuing wide litigation was part of a strategy by the intelligence agencies he served to protect and develop the Nibiru mem he had developed for a wider PSYOP application during a 2012-2013 Nibiru Flyby PSYOP public terror hoax. Now imagine that, guys. Imagine, some people say, well, if this was a PSYOP, then why does the majority of the world know about this? Well, because it hasn't happened yet. Imagine if a Project Bluebeam or some sort of intelligently controlled, like Bob Dean talks about, a Vimana, Nibiru, that I've even stated, under intelligent control, just kind of appears the size of a moon, eh? Just kind of appears out of nowhere, going against all laws of physics, or even interdimensionally. As we raise frequency, we see something in the sky that we are not able to comprehend. And that embarks complete terror throughout the world. And now we have all this history on Nibiru that we can give to the general public to create a psychological operation for the general public during a flyby. So it's very important that we are able to expose that right now as a counteract to what could be presented to the public in a later time. Independent researchers conclude Stitchen's translation of fraud. Independent researchers Michael Heisner, PhD, and Jonathan Gray also found Stitchen's translations, the story of the planet Nibiru, to be fraudulent and a fabrication, and the Sumerian text Stitchen allegedly translated did not even exist. Well, that's interesting. See, we as a society, if we are presented something, like the Dead Sea Scrolls, for instance, all of a sudden they appeared in 1913 or something like that. The additional text to the Bible. We happen to find in some cave near the Dead Sea. Some guy. And then it ends up in the Antiquity Department. And then it becomes this whole thing, and now we have this thing, and now recently the lost books of the Bible are there, and we take that at face value. Oh, since we see it, it's true. It's like, if science doesn't prove it to be real, it's not real, right? We have to look to scientists to verify things for us, kind of like God, as some atheists want to say. Well, there can't be a God. Can't prove it to me. And the only way you can prove it is through your faith. Well, that's arrogant. And you can be arrogant too, say that you believe in a God. But I'd rather put my money on a God than no God at all. Right? It's like a gamble. But if these Sumerian texts were actually either A, made up, or didn't even exist, that's interesting in itself. That, you know, I mean, with Hollywood, anything can be made up, right? But we take it at face value. Is anybody, have you touched the Sumerian texts? I haven't ever seen them. I have witnessed pictures and such, but I've never actually touched them. And can we go look at them anywhere? I don't know. I don't think so. I don't know. I have to investigate that. But even if they are, do we like, it's like the Shroud of Turin. You know? We, as, you know, we believe that is the, you know, the shroud that Jesus Christ was wrapped in. But could it be a fake? Could it be a phony? We don't know anything. Nobody knows nothing. It could all be fabricated as a psychological operation on our minds. That's why I say question everything, including myself. Now, okay, we're going to go back here. The summary of a video by Michael Hazer, PhD's presentation, exposing the fraud of Zecharia Sitchin, states that Zecharia Sitchin is a fraud. He states this on record, not as a matter of opinion, but as a matter of fact, and he further maintains there is no proof even Sitchin attending any college class for even one semester, and that Sitchin is no language expert at all. Even more damning is that the ancient Sumerian text that Zecharia says supports all of his claims do not even exist. And it goes on further. It goes, Sitchin as an intelligent operative for the global elite. During the August 1st, 2012 interview with me, Weber states that the source he spoke to said on one occasion Sitchin admitted to the Weber confidential source that Sitchin was working covertly as a part of the plan by the global elite to implement a new world order, using the planet Nibiru, Sitchin's own invention, and the popular fear of global catastrophe as disinformation tool to herd humanity into accepting a global dictatorship. Even according to Sitchin's biography, Sitchin was born in the Azerbaijani SSR of the Soviet Union, but was raised in mandatory Palestine. He received a degree in economics from the University of London and was an editor and journalist in Israel before moving to New York in 1952. While working as an executive for a shipping company, he taught himself Sumerian cuneiform and visited several archaeological sites. That's what we're being told. But do we have proof of any of that? We must question everything. Question everything. Even my research, question it. I mean, I'm showing you NASA stuff. We're getting it from NASA. I mean, here's a great thing, guys. Here's another thing. We have Curiosity that lands on Mars. All right? We have Curiosity that lands on Mars. And we don't even get high definition feeds back. I mean, this thing's got like 17 cameras, beautiful beautiful camera systems on it, and we're getting all this low quality feeds back from Mars. Give me a break. Are we like in the 1960s? Come on. Some of these photos look worse than the photos that we got from the so-called landing on the moon. Some have even stated that we have already seeded Mars, and that Mars is just fine to breathe in, and that there's actually birds, and there's fishies, and all kinds of habitat on Mars already. That we're seeding the planet because we know something's going to happen to this planet, so we're getting ready to move back to Mars. Or that Mars itself has always been a habitable planet. And that there is extraterrestrial on the planet. Even Andrew Bazzago says that they have been transported there through the jump rooms of the Project Pegasus program. What do we believe? Yeah, one of the persons in there says, yeah, we're so broke, we can't afford high-definition cameras for, I was thinking the other day, I'm like, okay, we know we've got New Dawn heading towards Pluto. It's supposed to land there in 2015. It's supposed to reach Pluto in 2015. I'm like, this thing's racing at 43,000 miles per hour. Okay? I thought about this. I'm like, that's fast. How the hell do we know that it's not going to hit some sort of asteroid on its way? How can we tell that thing's going to roll straight forward? It's kind of like Star Wars, How do we know we're going to get inside of an asteroid belt, blah, 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 fly too close to a supernova. Remember when Han Solo says that? Remember that? How do we understand the physics of that? That just kind of blows me away. So we get this, if we can do that, if we can figure out how to send a probe, a satellite, all the way to Pluto at 43,000 miles an hour, supposed to arrive Pluto 2015, we certainly can send back some HD images from Mars, through this brand new rover out there. And that thing looks killer, by the way. It looks like a small car. I mean, it looks badass. I'd love to be driving around in that thing. And you're telling me that thing don't have high definition cameras on it? Give me a break. What are they hiding? And then even the images that we got of that planet, okay? We see the sun, the so-called sun, supposed to be the sun, and it looks huge in the horizon. Humongous, guys. You think that's our sun, or could it possibly be a second sun out there? They're saying it's right outside of Mars. Now, it's rolling in. And when I looked at this sun, it looked like it had small planetary objects around it as well. Look at those images again. Go back. Ren says it is. Yes, of course. We can't see it with our naked eye because it is still too dark to see. It's a dark star. But yet we can see it on the WISE. And that's what I'm showing you on the WISE imagery. And what's following that dark star is a planet called Hercolubus. Now, even Zecharia Sitchin, they're saying, was also involved in the 2003 illegal invasion of Iraq. Alfred states that his confidential source, a former close business associate of Zecharia, assisted the U.S. government in its planning of the 2003 illegal invasion of Iraq based on Sitchin's advice that the U.S. government should invade Iraq to capture several interdimensional portholes located in Iraq. Now, this is something that I have thought about a lot because, of course, we have Mesopotamia, which is supposedly where the Garden of Eden is. Okay? We know that Iraq is supposedly where the Garden of Eden is. Okay? The mythological Garden of Eden. We also know that Afghanistan is a possibility of an area where a time porthole is, and the Gulf of Aden is supposed to be another area where a time porthole is. Now, some theories are that actually a Vimana, a large Vimana, got trapped in a porthole right in Afghanistan, where Zoroaster, of the god of Zoroastrianism, was locked, was caught up in that. Did not escape. Now, here's a thought, guys. Take this one and run with it, okay? What if Zoroaster, okay? We've seen we've seen it in Babylonian, we've seen it in Sumerian, the winged god with the big, Enki, okay? Some have said Enki could be Christ, all this stuff, okay? Imagine if you got trapped here on this planet. Imagine if God got trapped on this planet and couldn't get back. And the only way he could figure out how to get back, because he kept dying regularly and kept incarnating because he was trapped in this area. Remember how I've told you that we were covered by a bubble? The Milky Way galaxy is covered by a bubble, and it can't. We were trapped. We can't get out into heaven. Okay. We kept being incarnated here. Imagine if God got caught up in that trap as well. And the only way God could do it is he figured out, finally, I have to kill myself. I know it's a stretch. But imagine. And if they have a Vimana that God was in, that God was a part of, and that we know that there is a physical God, man, you think anybody would tell you about that? No. Hell no. Hell no. All right, so going back to here, talking about the portholes located in Iraq, Mr. Sitchin allegedly based his advice to the U.S. government to, and by the way, guys, I told you I was going to get you guys on at the bottom of the hour. I'm going to continue with this. I'll get you on. We'll talk at the top of the hour. We'll be able to discuss this at a round table. So if you want to call in, 347-324-3704, and that's 324-374-3. God, I had it there. 347-324-3704. Just press 1, and your hands will go up, or you can just join us in the chat room as well. Because this is getting interesting, and I'm actually having kind of a little bit of fun here, thinking as well, which I don't do a lot of. Anyways, Mr. Sitchin allegedly based his advice to the U.S. government to invade Iraq and capture several interdimensional portals on his translations of Sumerian texts that themselves were fraudulent. According to Weber's source, the U.S. Department of Defense relied on Sitchin's advice in planning and carrying out the invasion of Iraq. Mr. Sitchin reportedly visited the Pentagon for consultations. It is not known whether Sitchin was financially compensated for his advice. Now, here goes into what I was just stating about Afghanistan and Iraq. Imagine if Sitchin was wrong, read the text wrong, told the U.S. government, need to invade Iraq. But now look at where our focus is now, on Afghanistan. Because we found the portal, but it wasn't in Iraq. It was actually in Afghanistan. Not there looking for lithium, guys. And why are we still there? Why are we still there? Gets you to ponder. Elementary, my dear Watson. That's something we really should investigate. So here we go. Capturing of the interdimensional portholes as a goal of the Iraq War, supported by independent research. The capturing of several interdimensional portholes in Iraq, as set out in the Sitchin translations, as being a driving motive of the U.S. government for the 2003 illegal invasion of Iraq, is also supported by other independent research. This independent researcher does not mention that Sitchin's translations were themselves fraudulent, and that the U.S. government either was duped by Sitchin or went along with Sitchin's translations fraud as a psychological operation covered for the 2003 illegal invasion of Iraq. Now, the next thing goes into Nibiru did not cause the great deluge of 9500 BC. A core component of the 2012-13 Nibiru flyby cataclysm is that Nibiru is an earlier flyby triggering the great biblical Great Deluge that launched Noah's Ark and that destroyed Earth's great maritime civilization approximately 11,500 years ago, around 9500 BC. Yet it had been determined that the global coastal event of 9500 BC was caused by a solar system catastrophe due to a fragment of a supernova Vela coming into our solar system, severely damaging Mars and its surface ecology and destroying the great maritime civilization on Earth. Well, it's kind of similar to what my theory was, where I've talked about this planet Lucifer was a planet, water planet. And then I said that it collided with Nibiru, or another planet, Marduk, or whatever you want to call it, that created the asteroid belt, and that the planet Lucifer, the fallen, fell to Earth and created the Great Flood. Kind of the same thing, kind of. The 2012-13 Nibiru flyby cataclysm mem and hoax. During Alfred Weber's interview with me, his reported conversation with his confidential source that the fraudulent Sumerian translation that Sitchin had produced created a hoax planet, Nibiru, with a 3,600-year elliptical orbit, was now being manipulated by a covert global elite plan into a planned 2012-13 psychological psyop under a 2012-13 Nibiru flyby using a cherry-picking of astronomical, climate, geological, seismological, and other data to create a false mem that Nibiru was about to fly by in the solar system around the asteroid belt and create the 2012 or 13 coastal global event that would devastate humanity. The purpose of this flyby psyop mem would be to engender a level of mass fear and confusion amongst humanity to constitute a psyop false flag operation and facilitate the imposition of police state measures under the National Emergency Act. Now, this is exactly what I was saying in the first hour. That this could be just a Project Bluebeam type of thing, but we know something's out there. But what is it? Or is it all a psychological? Is everything, all the data that we've got, everything that we've collected so far has already been predetermined? Even the stuff that I have looked into, everything that you've looked into, everything that everybody else, it's all been, all been seen well before we even got into it, and that we might even be part of this psychological operation. I'm just getting that one right off the top of my head. Because we know NASA never gives us a straight answer, and we don't know for sure that this is even true. But the one thing that I do believe is the cavalry is coming. And that the Lord is coming. So could the Lord be a part of this dark star system? An interdimensional system that we even saw on the Melbourne, Australia thing, that we have not seen yet. And it's starting, the veil itself is starting to uncover. The new world is starting to uncover. That is stated in Revelation. And we're starting to see bits and pieces of the kingdom, which is right here on earth. This, as I talked about earlier, this different interdimensional timeline. Alfred goes on, are you on the 2012-13 catastrophic or positive timeline? Mr. Weber also notes that the 2012-13 positive timeline refers to the results of a 2010 study by the Farsight Institute under the leadership of Dr. Courtney Brown, using the largest number of military-trained remote viewers in history. In 2010 study, 39% of the remote viewers found a global coastal event in 2013 in which all coastal cities on the earth were devastated, and humanity was essentially thrown back into the Stone Age. This is what they call the catastrophic timeline. On the other hand, 29% of the remote viewers found a normal, positive future with no catastrophe. This is the positive timeline. Now, I want to go back, guys, to what I read to you earlier, because the data sounds very similar. It has been indicated by this, and this was written in 1994, well before this study, okay? It has been indicated by this awareness that in and around the year 2012, a movement into a new direction or a new dimension will occur. This appears to be a movement that begins in a more solid direction in 1995, moving toward the point of 2012 or 2013. There are many who would think that this is the end times or the rapture. It appears that approximately, and here's where the numbers get very similar, 25% of the people on Earth at this time are in a higher spiritual vibration, which would allow them to be raptured if this was the time for the rapture to occur. And this 25% is growing rapidly, so that by the time 2012 or 2013 occurs, the majority of people on Earth will be ready for that time of the rapture or enlightenment, and the Earth itself becomes the new plane of consciousness, the near spiritual home for entities. Well, we have a statistically here, kind of even, 29% and 39%. 39% right now going down a catastrophic timeline. The remote viewers in 2010 said 39% of the remote viewers saw a catastrophic timeline. However, there were still 29%, which would have been about 1/3, okay, saw a normal positive future with no catastrophe. This is the positive timeline. And then how about the other 30%? We've got what? 40, 30. Okay, we got 70. Yeah. So we got another 30% out there, another 1/3 that are unsure. So we can divide that up in thirds. So it's still pretty even, Makes sense to me. Thus, this is objective evidence that no catastrophe will befall humanity in 2012-2013 based on remote viewing results of the 29% of remote viewers at the FAR Institute study. You can obtain more background on Dr. Brown's study in his this article here. I'm actually going to throw that particular link into the chat room right now. If you like to grab it, www.ursuadams.com. You can get that on the online chat, or you can also come to freedomizerradio.com. I will also post that on my Facebook wall as well. Let's see here. I'll post it right here on my Facebook wall. It goes politics, government, and the law of the universe. Are you on a 2012-2030 catastrophic or positive timeline? So that's, interesting. Interesting to say the least. And of course, right down below that is where where the BBC broadcast Nibiru in a documentary, and then of course that fraudulent video from Fife, Scotland is actually in that video. Interesting that shows up, that particular video shows up in that documentary where we're telling you Nibiru is a hoax. While it's true that the scientific evidence shows a celestial body is perturbing the outer planets of our solar system, now this is where we need to, talk about, Teak and Hercolubus, okay? While it's true, okay, Nibiru is a hoax, however, while it's true that scientific evidence shows a celestial body is perturbing the outer planets of our solar system, causing solar system-wide planetary warming and causing demonstrable seismic, volcanic, climatic, geological, visible effects on Earth, it is scientific error to conclude that the celestial body causing this is Sitchin's Nibiru, because the planetary body is a fabrication and a hoax. Do we understand now? Have I finally made it crystal clear? It is scientifically proven that there is a celestial body perturbing the outer planets of our solar system. I just put you a link of what has happened to Jupiter. It's flipped on its axis. So will we have a 2012-2013 catastrophic timeline where there is a pole shift that John Moore has talked about, that Arizona has talked about? Or will we be raptured away into another timeline? A lot of people are dying right now. We're seeing a lot of death. A lot of death. Could they be being caught up into a different dimension? Or what we're seeing is actually all psychological aberrations? It is scientific error to conclude that the celestial body causing this is Zecharia Sitchin's Nibiru, because that planetary body is a fabrication and a hoax. We're not stating that the dual sun is a hoax. We're not stating that Hercolubus is a hoax. We're stating that Nibiru, the story behind Nibiru, is a hoax. And it is scientific error to assume that what this celestial body is Nibiru. It's wrong. Absolutely wrong. No definitive nature of the celestial object discovered by NASA's IRAS satellite was given in 1983. The iconic December 27, 1983 article in the San Francisco Chronicle and other newspapers that publicly reported the discovery of a new celestial body did not pre-identify it as Zecharia Sitchin's Nibiru. That article, an actual copy of their article is in this. So mysterious is the object that astronomers do not know if it is a planet, a giant comet, a nearby protostar that never got hot enough to become a star, a distant galaxy so young that it is still in the process of forming its first stars, or galaxy so shrouded in dust that none of the light cast by its stars ever gets through. No definitive definition of the nature of the celestial object discovered by NASA's IRAS satellite was given in 1993. And the iconic December 27th, 1980 article that publicly reported the discovery of a new celestial body did not pre-identify it as Zecharia Sitchin's Nibiru. The BBC and the South Pole camera have recorded a celestial object, and we have reasonable cause to believe that the celestial object identified on NASA's IRAS satellite may be a dual sun. Please note that the dual sun hypothesis is not only a working hypothesis we have at this time. It's not the only working hypothesis we have at this time. We don't know what this thing is, but we know that it's scientifically proven. We're showing you the data. Now, whether we're going to actually see it, that we do not know. But we know it's perturbing the planet. It's actually causing egg-shaped, it's expanding. I showed you that before in my videos. And we could go on and on and on this. If you have not read this article, I would go back, and I'm going to put the full article on my Facebook page at www.facebook.com/Ursu Adams. Of course, we're live on the air right now. So, you know, and I'll also put it in the Freedomizer chat room as well. Also, yes, I forgot about that. www.hercolubus.tv talks about the Eagle Foundation book. The book that we are actually going to be talking about, that the Eagle Foundation, we are going to have the president of the Eagle Foundation join us in the next couple of weeks here on the air here on 32 Degrees of Insanity. So be looking forward to that. Should be quite an interesting conversation because we really want to get the truth behind this. And if you want to get a free copy of that book, you can go to www.hercolubus.tv and you can get a copy of that. Let's see. Sorry, Donny, I tried hard to get the show live on iPad 2. I need you. Okay, sorry. No, whatever. Sorry, guys. So anyways, I'm going to take a quick break. I know people have been patiently waiting on the air here. I know that Kevin and Jay Larson is in there. If you guys want to give a call in, I know I've got several people listening on the board. You don't have your hands up, so I don't know if you want to join us on the air or not. But 347-324-3704. Got about an hour left of the show here. If you're listening in the archive, you're listening on YouTube, I hope you've really enjoyed this second part of this particular program. If you're looking at YouTube right now, and this is for the archive, you will see in the show description below of this program, there will be a link to the last 4 videos, and this, you know, these are my last 4 radio shows, and it really ties everything together. So if you're a new listener to our program and you really want to learn about what we've been talking about since the interview with Alfred Weber, and then I came back on Monday night show. The first show, or the Monday night show before Alfred Weber, I talk about John Moore and his August 17th timeline. We bring Alfred Weber on Wednesday, so this has kind of been like a 4-part series. We bring Alfred Weber on Wednesday. We talk about Nibiru and Stitch, what we just talked about as a hoax. That is a live interview with Alfred Weber. Then, of course, on Monday night, I kind of gave you all, and you can listen to that radio show. It is on YouTube right now, where I go in depth on my own thought process of what this is and what we should be calling it. And then, of course, tonight I've been talking for like 2 hours straight here. Normally, I don't do that. I, bring people on the air. But I thought a lot of this needed to be discussed and needed to be handled. So we're going to go into a break right now. We're going to take a quick break. And we, of course, as I said, there probably will not be a special edition of 32 Degrees this weekend on Truth Frequency. We'll be bringing it back the following weekend. I'm going to be taking a break off here, just kind of clear my mind a little bit and go up and meet with a fellow Masonic brother. And him and I just need to do some talking. And I need to spiritually cleanse myself a little bit as well and just get his views on some things. I trust him as well. So we're going to take a quick break here. Come back. We'll bring on Kevin and Jay Larson. If you want to join into the round table, 347-324-3704. Again, that's 347-324-3704. We'll be right back right after this little bit of a break.
Greetings. I'm sorry.
Little sound bit right there as we came into the last final hour here on 32 Degrees of Insanity. Because we've been talking about how humanity itself needs to rise up. We touched on the trolls. I was just reading I told you about that guy with the fraudulent Nibiru claim, his video. He goes, mention me all you like. Mention my details and there'll be problems. Let's not forget, it was YouTube that supplied you with my details, so I doubt they would be impressed much if you then went on and gave my details out to all your listeners. That would be very silly, Donny. Surely you're not that silly. I'm not going to give the guy any. All I know is he's a fraud. The video's a hoax. If you see the video, guys, it's called, and it's actually his YouTube channel is Stead1975, I believe. And you can see it. It says Nibiru in Fife, Scotland. Kathleen Bell, who is one of our great listeners, thought it was real. She's the one who brought it to me, presented it to me, and I looked at it and went, could possibly be. Then I thought, well, we'll take a look at the Fife, Scotland area where this, and then it showed up in the BBC documentary in regards to to Nibiru. Then I challenged that guy. I go, well, you have the video in there, but you haven't followed any copyright. And he goes, well, I don't like how you handle yourself. And I go, you know what? You're a fraud. You're a liar. You didn't produce the video, and if you did, you produced it under fraudulent terms. And it's not out of Fife, Scotland. It's somewhere else. I don't know what it is, but you produced some fraudulent video that got into a legitimate video in regards to Nibiru, which actually has some of my footage in it as well. So actually, when I showed that video, I didn't show this, excuse my French, but this asshole's video. I showed the BBC video. So whatever, it doesn't matter, I'll win the copyright thing. And this just shows you guys, it's just how they attack Donny Gillson. How I'm attacked. Left and right. They leave everybody else alone, but why do they attack me individually? Because, of course, I'm on the right track. They want to keep you down in this low vibration. These people. They want to keep me down in this low vibration, but it's not going to work. Now, before I bring Jay Larson and Kevin to the show, I do want to bring you guys into something that was on the INF 5D website. It goes, DNA upgrade through the merging of the galaxies by Phil Rowan. And this was posted on August 8th, 2012. Of course, I am going to, again, put this in the chat room for you guys to listen or to read along with. Whoops, I guess I'm not logged in. So I'll have to log in here. Let's switch my password here. I don't know how I got logged out. That's weird. All right, so there we go. I put the article in there, and I'm just going to read a little bit of it, and because I think this has a lot to do with what we were talking about. And actually, on Monday, I mentioned briefly about this small solar system, this dwarf galaxy that was mixing with our Milky Way galaxy. A thorough explanation of how DNA and human consciousness are completely interconnected, along with how this is related to the merging of the Sagittarius dwarf galaxy and the Milky Way galaxy. The above picture shows the Milky Way galaxy as seen from Earth on a clear night. Okay, and it shows the galactic plane, okay, the picture does. Since our earliest education, we have always been taught that the Earth, our sun and solar system, belong to the Milky Way galaxy. Now, new scientific evidence clearly shows that not to be the case. One of the greatest astronomical mysteries of the Milky Way is at an angle when seen from Earth. If our solar system merged out of the Milky Way, we would be in line with the whirlpool disk, but as it is, we reside at an angle to it. That long-time mystery has now been solved. A new infrared digital survey of the entire sky was made in 2003. Teams from the University of Virginia and Massachusetts used a supercomputer to sort through 500 million stars to create a new star map showing our solar system to be at the exact nexus crossroad where two galaxies are actually joining. Now, if you remember my pictures of the so-called Nibiru disk, right? That I called it, the Nibiru system, the super system. if we remember when we looked at it in different frequencies, it looked like two systems colliding together. Okay, but then when we brought it into that 440 megahertz, it actually brought it together, and it looks like a large planet. All right. We are now joining the Milky Way community with all implications thereof. A sense of shock came as scientists announced that the sun, the moon, our planet, and its siblings were not born in a familiar band of stars known as the Milky Way galaxy, but we actually belong to a strange formation with the unfamiliar name of the Sagittarius dwarf galaxy. Now that's interesting that they say that, because the NASA insider of the picture that I showed you earlier, and if you go to my Facebook page and look under my photos, you can see the new picture of Hercolubus with the dark star next to it. And my NASA insider said that that picture was taken in the constellation of Sagittarius. Okay? How can this be? Using the volumes of data from 2-micron all-sky surveys, a major project to survey the sky in infrared light led by the University of Massachusetts, the astronomers are asking questions that have baffled scientists for decades and proving that our own Milky Way is consuming one of its neighbors in a dramatic display of ongoing galactic cannibalism. The study, published in the Astrophysical Journal, is the first map the full extent of the Sagittarius galaxy, and show in visual vivid detail how its debris wraps around the masses through our Milky Way. Sagittarius is 100 times smaller in mass than the Milky Way galaxy. So it is getting stretched out, torn apart, and gobbled up by the bigger Milky Way. We are at an angle to the arms of the Milky Way whirlpool disk because we did not come out of the Milky Way, but we came out of the Sagittarius dwarf galaxy, which is now colliding with and being eaten by the huge Milky Way. Wow. Talk about stretching and whoa. It has been known that the Milky Way collects materials from other galaxies and overwhelms the small ones. The Sagittarius dwarf galaxy from which our solar system came is very, very small and being energetically consumed. We are about to join the Milky Way at the energetic level of a whirlpool disk. And then it shows this view thing of the rings around the Milky Way galaxy. Here are the remnants of other smaller galaxies. You can see where our sun is located, and that you can see where the sun is located, and this is where it's moving in entirely a different direction than it thought, tracing the ring in which our solar system resides, and you can see its path, and blah, 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 it goes on and on. But in this picture, we see a binary star. We see a companion star. Not only is that companion star part of the Milky Way galaxy, but part of the Sagittarius system as well. Now, one of my subscribers wrote me something, and I want to read it to you real quick, and I will get you on, guys, I promise here. I'm kind of going off of my own little tangents here. And one of my good friends, Charles, wrote me this today. Or yesterday, I'm sorry. He goes, "Hey, friend Don, been busy and haven't caught your last couple of shows. It's nice to see that you acknowledge the dark star and see it as our sun's twin. It's not just our sun's twin-bit sister, it's also its estranged wife, just like every great mystery. I sent a message to you long ago concerning a stone called the lapis exilis, the crown jewel of Lucifer, which is hopelessly out of my reach. The lapis exilis is in actuality a chunk of the dark sun the last time it passed. What makes it special is that it's hypercondensed crystal, impossible to recreate on our planet due to environmental reasons, i.e. intense gravity. The lapis exilis would be Osiris's missing phallus. In any case, back to the mystery. You stated that the Gnostics always knew, and that is true. The Gnostic Gospel of Judas is actually the Gospel of the 13th Zodiac. We know that the 13th zodiac is Ophiuchus, right? I've talked about Ophiuchus before. And we talked about the Bernard star, a.k.a. Hercolubus, a.k.a. Bernard star, which is in Ophiuchus. Okay, so it's all kind of making sense. The apostles' disdain for Judas is really their dread of the 13th sign and what it means for us. The twin savior mystery. There is twins on every level, and our solar system is not the only one we are set to meet. Our cosmic twins await us in Aquarius. Now, we've all talked about twin flames before as well. You've read my article on twin flames. A lot of us, I believe, are alone right now and not together with their twin flame because they're not here. They're not in this dimension. We're separated from each other. We are not just at the end of an age. We are at the end of a manifestation. A manifestation is 3 Earth ages. The last 3 would be Lemuria, Atlantis, and our current civilization. Just what I talked about in the story of Hercolubus. And the 7 races that I talked about on Monday night's show. And if you haven't caught that show, please listen to it on YouTube. Send it out to all of your friends, because this is the truth you're getting right on this channel tonight. You're getting the truth, the story behind all of this. It's all starting to match up, and this is the research that we're going to be directing this radio station down. Or this radio station, at least my show. You must have heard, with your occult background, that long time ago, before the fall, Scorpio, Libra, and Virgo used to be one sign. That would be the first manifestation. What do you think? Well, of course, Charles, I completely agree. And I'll have to write you back. I don't know if you're listening to the show right now, but you probably now know that I completely agree with all of that. And with that being said, I'm going to bring, let's see here. Oh, Sister Sarah is in there as well. We'll bring, let's see, we'll bring Sister Sarah. I haven't had Sister Sarah on for a while. Sister Sarah, welcome.
Thanks. Hi, Donny.
How are you?
I'm okay. How are you?
Oh, hanging in there, of course, always. It's been kind of an interesting show tonight.
Yes, it has been. I kind of want to do the little, remember that movies, popcorn? That's what I want to talk about.
Well, it's always an interesting story when you listen to Donny Gillson's 32 Degrees of Insanity.
Okay. I'm thinking about a different movie, but here's how it's related to what you're talking about, I think.
Okay.
It's that if one is ascending, if one is ascending, then, or let's look at it this way. What prevents us from feeling totally happy? It's always some sort of fear or some sort of dark thing, right?
Right.
So it would mean that, or logically speaking, we would have to master those things that once made us afraid and made us intimidated. You know, which sort of has a parallel theme to freedom, you know, which many of us are interested in. Also, the good people in the chat room. Hi to you, to the good people in the chat room. Anyway,
right.
Ignoring those others. So, I thought, so I'm prefacing the movie I'm going to talk about because it's a movie in and of itself that tends to facilitate fear. It's Rosemary's Baby. So I don't know why, but for about the past 3 weeks, I would say that, and I love his film. I mean, just never mind anything esoteric in it. I just love it as a film. And I watched it about 6 months ago, and so.
Did you say The Stone?
What?
Did you say the movie The Stone?
Rosemary's Baby.
Oh, Rosemary's Baby. I'm sorry. Okay. Go on.
Yeah, Rosemary's Baby. And so I don't have a lot of fear associated with that film because I really love it. I love the cinematography and just a whole bunch of things about it. So when it was coming through my mind sort of randomly in connection with certain events, but I wasn't putting them together yet, just the way my process works, I didn't have a lot of fear associated with it, so I'm able to really look at it, you know? And so here's what I'm coming up with. You know, we've just had this Batman thing, which has really turned out to be horrible. And so that's why I think it's important for me to speak up, regardless of what people think about me, you know? Because it's just an intuitive kind of hit that I keep getting. And it's the scene where she hears the baby crying. She's already gone through facing that it's everyone in her world is totally like the devil, like she's scared to death. But there's that baby crying that she loves, and there's that scene. The scene is when she walks into the room and she picks up the baby, but all the other witches they want her out of there. They want her dead. You know, they don't care about her. But what's his name standing right there says no. Let her. She's mother. Let her do it. And then the movie ends with one having to embrace intellectually that concept of that pure goodness. Because as far as I can tell, I mean, I've watched it a lot. It's a baby. It's her first baby. We don't know anything evil in her background or anything. That's not Rosemary. You know, Rosemary's just a regular person, and this is her first baby, and she was in love. That's what pulls her through that very dark scene, right up until the end. And of course, we don't know what happens, but I don't know why, Donny, but you're one of the few people I feel as though I can tell this to. I may be off too, but no, I think you have a tremendous amount of courage. And, I had trouble getting into the chat room, through this whole year and a half because of technical issues. And I started because of a new smartphone to get in, but still it's all, the screen wobbles and it's really hard to type. But, not tonight. It wasn't tonight. Tonight I was able to, look at things for a little while. But there were a couple of nights I didn't want to be there because of trolls. Why would I, after hearing everything I've heard about trolls, after seeing what they write on your YouTube, why would I want to go hang out with that? Really?
Right.
It's boring. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So I have no desire to be in the chat room anymore. It's because of trolls. It's why would I want to do that?
Well, we've been quite fortunate. I've been trying to moderate it as much as possible to make sure that we have some positive vibrations within the channel. Of course, we miss some here and there, and the chat room's not the all. We know I was looking at the numbers of the radio show, and it seems to me that we're seeing a consensus of more people that are listening, not partaking in the chat room, but we're seeing some record numbers, Freedomizer, as far as listening is concerned, and so that's a positive thing. Even though we don't have the huge chat rooms that we used to have, I think you're right. I think people are just getting sick of the troll activity and would rather just kick back, do some work online while they listen to us on the air.
Yeah, and it's a good example of we don't need policing, to help us handle that. We gotta know. I go all over the internet. There's things with comments on all kinds of YouTubes. I mean, it's just go whoa, but I can do the same thing. I just think there's something about, meaning we don't need policing. Just like you said, people decide, okay, I could do something else here, It's boring. So thanks. I just wanted to, what do you think about that Rosemary's Baby thing? You have any spark any?
That movie creeps me out.
Huh?
Whenever I think of Rosemary's Baby, I always think of that scene of when the baby comes out and the red eyes come out and they're all laughing. Ah! That movie has always freaked me out. That movie was released, if I'm not mistaken, was released in the August of 1969, I think.
It was actually, it's even more interesting. It's June 12th, 1968. I looked it up.
Oh, June 12th, 1968.
While you were talking, yeah. Because you were on and I was awake, and so I'm going, wow, maybe I'll be in the queue and I can finally get to tell you, I didn't want to really write it anywhere else.
Yeah, I just remember as a kid, because I was born in 1969, I thought I remembered it being released right around the time I was born, but I guess it was released a summer before I was born. But my mom would talk about it, and I would always got creeped out. And that movie and The Exorcist always kind of creeped me out. Kevin's been holding for a while too. I'm going to bring Kevin to the show. Kevin, you there?
Yeah, I am.
Hey, Kevin. Sorry I had you on hold there for a little bit. I'm going to bring Jay Larson to the show too. Jay, how are you?
I'm fine, Donny. How you doing?
Good. Welcome everybody to the show. We got about a half hour left, so I thought I'd make it into a little bit of a roundtable for you guys. I know you guys have been waiting patiently to talk on the show tonight, and I really appreciate you guys sitting there and letting me go through my 2 hour, 10-minute rant on this Nibiru hoax, and that we, hopefully we could bring it, educate people on what this really is, this scientifically proven celestial body. But let's, give it credence to what it really is, instead of going down the psychological operations of what Zachariah Stitch and the CIA and Pentagon want us to know.
Hey.
You guys have the floor.
There you go.
Well, I was hoping out to let Jada say something, and I was
I feel like I had my time, so I was quiet. All right.
But what I wanted to bring up is, you're talking about Zachariah Stitchen's involvement with the Gulf War. Now, if you remember, during the Gulf War, that the Iraqi museum was looted.
Yes, I do remember that. Yep, right before they toppled the statue of Saddam Hussein.
Right. Now, a lot of stuff that hasn't been in the general public is that when that museum was looted, that in the confines of the museum, in their artifacts, there were artifacts that weren't even cataloged yet. They were cuneiform rolls. Now, if you know anything about cuneiform, it's a cylinder, and on the cylinder it has little etchings. And when they roll it across clay, it makes an impression, and this is what they use for their language. Now, recently, just before the Gulf War escalated, there was many different sites throughout Iraq that they found ancient cuneiform scrolls. Now, they're estimating that these scrolls could be roughly even up to 7,000 to 8,000 years old. Now, if you look at the cuneiform scrolls, these are ancient texts of the Sumerians or the ancient Babylonians of that time period, which Zachariah Stitchen was allegedly a scholar of. Now, this is what we were talking about, Donny, on Monday, and I wanted to get more into it and stuff, but I believe that Zachariah Stitchen was actually brought in to the folds of it all because they wanted his take being part of the system or the powers that be on what these cuneiform scrolls are actually saying, because I believe the elitists or the puppeteers or whatever we want to call them, they know what's going on, and they're continuously searching for more artifacts to prove what they know. And so when we discuss about the Zachariah Stitchen hoax, I don't think that it is per se a Nibiru hoax. I think it is more the evolution of mankind and where we actually proceeded from before the Earth.
Right. You and I were talking a little bit about that on Monday night's show, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we should probably go off the air, and I'll pass a little bit more stuff on the air.
And I would agree with that. I would agree with that completely. I think that what they're trying to do is demonize the. Go on, Kevin.
Oh, that's on me. That sounds like echo from someone.
Jay, I think I'm getting echo from you.
Okay, hold on.
All right. Let's see here. No, what I think is that they're trying to demonize the whole creation theory, as far as us, being created by the Anunnaki. Now, some have even stated that Jesus Christ himself was Anunnaki, that even some of the disciples that followed Christ were Anunnaki as well. I've read that in texts as well. I don't think we're ever going to get a real true story until these guys show their faces.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, if you as hard as it may be, if you can do a suspension of the belief with the Christianity and the Bible, and you go to the ancient texts as far back as the writings of Gilgamesh and the battles of that, is that echoing really bad, Donny?
No, you're fine.
Okay, I'm getting an echo back at me. But if you go to those ancient Sumerian texts and even to the supposed Gnostic Gospels in all of their teaching, that if you follow the bloodline of David to Abraham and beyond Abraham, Abraham came from ancient Sumeria. And so if there was the Anunnaki, and if you look in the etymology of Anunnaki, it meant when the species was brought to the earth. And ironically enough, that's the same etymology translation as the Anishinaabe, which are my ancestral descendants, and we've talked about that too. And that's why I'm so fascinated with this, and I claim extensive research on it. But yeah, you're right about the one thing, that the full true story that we will not permanently find, because I've been trying to research the Anishinaabe people. They did the same type of technique where they had copper scrolls and they etched their stories in that. And the Smithsonian has them. And the Anishinaabe people have been trying to get them back from the Smithsonian for probably the last 20, 30 years, since the Native American Freedom of Religious Act.
Interesting. Anything you want to add, Jay Larson?
Well, the biggest thing they've been trying to do is hide history. Back when I was growing up, even Atlantis was considered a farce. Even though I could, as a child, remember being on Atlantis, and I used to draw pictures of it and stuff. Then later on, when I was a teenager, I seen the same picture I drew. Basically, it was a place of sacrifice, but it was not human sacrifice. You sacrifice your what would you call it? Your negative characters and stuff, upon the altar. Basically, it was a preparation to go into the priestcraft. But the history of Atlantis actually started back in Mu. They were the persons that we really know much about, and before Mu went under, a lot of them migrated to where Atlantis was. Part of Mu, Mu didn't sink all at once, only portions of it. But and Atlantis had a number of cataclysms. The last one, they were made basically into a bunch of islands with a sea that was impossible to get through practically, because it was all muck and stuff. It wasn't deep or anything like that. Then around the last time, around about 11,000 years ago, the rest of it went. So they've been trying to collect history all along this. The storage keepers and stuff like that, which were the illumined people, they were mostly the upper class at that time, kept the secrets, and basically at that time they weren't so negative, but the reptilian faction took more over than the other factions. So what ended up happening was they became priest kings basically in Egypt, and these ones you hear of Orsis and stuff were basically the Atlanteans and stuff that had migrated before the last or final fall. So it's really hard to tell why they're gathering all this. First of all, I think basically they do this because they're trying to make you think that everything started in the Middle East, which it didn't. But there's a continuation from all around the world, and it developed in different parts and everything else, and they're trying to keep all that secret because the people weren't dumb, and our technology is not the only form of technology that's been. And then miraculous things. It's like the pyramid was built from the top up, downwards. Now, to have a technology to do that is almost impossible thinking.
Well, that would be anti-gravity, technology right there.
Not only anti-gravity, but materialization.
Right, materialization as well. Well, yeah, of course.
Have you, Donny?
Yeah, Kevin.
Well, I was going to ask you, have you ever done any research on a gentleman named Robert Ghostwolf?
Robert who?
Robert Ghostwolf.
No.
And Robert Ghostwolf, interesting enough, in the mid to late 90s, was told by a contingency of elders to go into Colorado, into the mountains. And he led a small group of people there and came back with images of huge stone carvings that were 20, 30 feet in height. And they were so overgrown with foliage and with, erosion and stuff of that nature. But it had different characters. And I don't know if the images are still on the internet at all. But I remember one of them was a griffin. Another one was, and they were almost characters that you would think of with Greek or even Roman mythology and stuff. But what Jay was talking about with like the history or the belief of the cradle of civilization, I don't think we'll really ever really know exactly where that is because of the Earth being possibly 7.3 billion years old. Who's to say that there's not a civilization that was here just, 100,000 years ago? You have nothing that surpasses that time frame in existence, because if you think of weathering and whatnot, what do we know of? What's the oldest thing that we know of besides like the mountains, and even them through history change?
Well, eventually we'll find out the truth because our DNA will repair itself, and all the information is in the DNA, our whole genetic history.
I think that when we're talking about creation and origins, I can't help but think of Genesis and also Jesus, who is really, even if we're talking in quote New Age, lingo, he was, you can't find a better shaman, really, than Jesus. So anyway, what I think of is right from the beginning of Genesis and throughout the entire book, whenever there's goodness that comes, that's transcendent of everything, that's miraculous, whatever word we're choosing, that glorious thing, that's hope in the midst of, whatever metaphor we're going to use. I'm not going to be a poet here at this moment. I just won't be able to pull it off. But, that we do know it, I think, Kevin. We have to know it. We have to know it. That's how everything is done. It's not through, it's by knowing what the Father is. It's always, which is another word for creator, can be. It can be. It's not, I'm not going to define it. It can be word for creator, which can be word for origin, which then gets into this issue of time, you know, and let's just stick to time. I was going to go to space. I won't pull it off. Time. And it makes me think of what I thought of, Kevin, when you started to talk of was ancestors. I think we're missing that, or it's hard for us because many of us are wounded children. Many of us were abused without knowing it. It's just part of the ancestors. The ancestors don't go away if we believe in eternal life, or even if we have another paradigm of spiritual beliefs that, you know, that we practice or follow or aspire to. There just is this notion of eternity and this time-space thing and the ancestors. You see, we're maybe running away. Our tendency is to run away from that past, that scary thing, the oppressive thing. But running away never does it. And we know that, and I think we're all here, anyone who's here, thinking about that. What do we do? And so I guess I'm just saying I don't know that I have found anything better, really, than what's in that book. So why not keep it simple and really just keep going, moving forward. And we do know, I think we do know where we come from. And that's why that's saying Back to the Future, you know, because it really is like that. There's this great musical concept. Once you get into 21st century music like John Cage, you know, and, this is a Japanese composer too. He wrote about this, about Back to the Future, about time and space, because music is so very much about time, you know, mastery of it really, which will never end, which keeps you going forward, you know.
Well, why do you think that they even went so far as change the harmonic scale on the piano?
Oh yeah, they did. That's a great point, Kevin. Hardly anybody talks about that. Yeah.
And if you think of that, at one point, our entire harmonic range that we used to feel and hear, which is the same thing, because hearing is feeling. If you look at the whole concept of how the ear works and everything, because energy is harmonic vibration. And so if you think that the whole harmonic scale has been purposely changed, why? Why would they change that?
Well, that was the Minister of Propaganda from Germany during World War II. Forget his name, but he's the one who changed it from 430, right, megahertz? What was it?
I don't know off the top of my hand.
It's an A to an A sharp. Like
yeah, but there's let's see here. Let's see. I'll be able to tell you. Change a universal tone would have been, I think it's 4. Starting the universal tone. Let's see here. Let's universal megahertz. So let's see, megahertz. I think it was. Let me just see here. Keep talking, guys. I'll find it.
Well, you know, bringing that up about that harmonic change. Well, if you think about this, that the Earth is having some type of shift in its polarity, a polarity shift. Now, we are harmony ourselves.
Oh, okay, here it is, guys. Sorry. It was a change from the universal harmonics is set at 440. Okay. The universal harmonics was set at 432. I'm sorry. The Nazis changed it to 440. So the natural A scale is 432, and that's the frequency of the universe. In 1939, the Nazi propaganda minister Joseph Goebbels changed it to 440, and now that's what most of the music that we listen to today is set at 440, but this is what 432 sounds like, guys, right here. Hang on, let's see if I can play it for you. Let's see here. It's probably still low. Can you hear that? That's 432.
Right. Now, even take the concept even more, that right now we are listening to this digitally. We're not listening to it analogically anymore, which is
Right.
a totally different feeling and vibratory in itself.
Well,
And
that's
so
why I
for
love
some-
jazz. I love jazz because it still is an acoustic music, not entirely, but really for the most part, there's a big bass. I mean, you're right, Kevin, is what I'm saying. And when I started really studying that, walking into that room with those instruments, the sax didn't need to be mic'd, you know, the horns, the drums, your whole, more than your body, just like, whoo, man, that's, and swing time, you know, which you really cannot write it down. Swing time, not in European notation. Bach was the guy who's connected with this, where he changed equal temperament. That's the reason why the piano was built, actually. So we have technology affecting music back then, same as the microphone did. So in a way, yeah, we lose something with the acoustic music, but we can figure out if you like. But we get something else really cool with the digital, I think.
Well, then there's that, I forget what that harmonics are. It's like 38,000, it's the sound of, it's a 38,000 megahertz, that UFO sound.
Well, I don't think I ever heard about that.
Well,
I mean, not in those words, not in this context. You know, yeah, go ahead.
Maybe it's 28.9. God, what is it?
Are you talking about the 19.5?
What is it?
19.5?
No, not 19.5. No.
Are you talking about 0 point?
No. God, I will find it and I will play it on the next. There's a no. It's a frequency that's like inaudible. But it's supposedly supposed to bring out dimensional thought, like interdimensional thought.
Oh, right. Well, I was going to bring up, when I brought up 0 point, now, if you do any research of Greg Braden and his theory of awakening to 0 point, I mean, he was right on the mark when he was talking about that during this type of polar magnetic shift, that the Earth's tone was actually doing like a shift. Now, if you think of the history of the world or the Earth, that it goes through the shift every particular time, and it's electromagnetic, and the possibility of the celestial body influencing the detrimental level of the magnetic shift, when our brain, which is electromagnetic in itself, goes through this same type of shift, what is going to happen when the claim is we use less than 10% of our brain, if during this magnetic shift it allows us the ability to possibly use more of our brain. And that's when you talk about this possibility of a conscious shift during the whole 2012, because for whatever reason, they are definitely trying to destroy our pineal gland.
Yes.
That's easily proven. And if you look up...
Well, they're trying to do that through any shape or form. I mean, even drugs. I mean, the effects that crystal methamphetamines and heroin and all of the other hardcore drugs that have on the pineal gland are catastrophic.
Oh, especially even just fluoride. Fluoride is the most devastating because it actually calcifies the pineal gland and
which one?
More or less fluoride.
Oh, fluoride. Yeah, fluoride's another one. Yep.
Well, now if you go and you do research on the pineal gland and specifically what it does, it basically is a regulator to our feelings.
Hey guys, I got 5 minutes left of the show. Got another caller here I want to see. It's a brand new caller, 225, so I want to bring them onto the air here. 225, welcome to the show.
How's it going, guys?
Hi, who's this?
This is Brian.
Hey, Brian, welcome to the show. You're a first-time caller?
Yeah, I love your show, man. I've been listening to it all night. Can't stop listening. I've actually done a lot of meditation with the pineal gland, And
looks like we lost him, guys. Well, you know, we try. So what did you think of the show tonight, guys? Did you enjoy it?
I always enjoy your shows, Donny. Not to butter you up anymore, but you know, the only thing that I would ever say, sir, and I say it with the deepest love.
I know.
Just let the chat room be the chat room, and you know, it gets so frustrating sometimes when you're on such a great train of thought.
Yep.
And then you glance at the chat room, and it kind of throws you a little bit.
You know, you know when that happens, don't you?
Oh yeah.
I think everybody's been able to tell when I like lose a thought. I'll like glance, I'll see something in the chat room, and it will just throw me. And I'll be like, and I don't want to talk about it because I'm on another thought, but then it's like, it irks me, and I'm like, you know what? And you're right, Kevin. I should let the chat room. That's why I do much better when I don't look at the chat room. When I'm not paying attention to the chat room, and you know, I should give somebody moderator privileges and have them as my policeman in the chat room.
Oh, that's a great idea.
Well,
you know,
because we used to have when Vicky and I were together, you know, and Vicky and I were doing the show. You know, Vicky was my producer, you know, and she man, talk about the Gestapo. Vicky was like she was a Gestapo, man. She still is kind of a Gestapo when it comes to the chat room. She's, you know, she doesn't play around. I let a lot of stuff slide, but man, Vicky definitely will, you know, be the Gestapo in the chat room. But we got just a couple minutes left of the show, guys. We're going to close out things. I want to say thanks, Sarah, for joining us tonight. Thanks, good old Jay Larson, for joining us. Thanks, Kevin, for joining us again tonight. You know, we've talked about a lot of things tonight, guys. We've talked about you know, the hoax, which is called Nibiru, but we've also talked about this scientifically proven celestial body that is out there. And is it Hercolubus? Is it a dual sun? Is it a dark star? We don't know. We know it's being tracked. NASA knows that it's being tracked. It is causing it's causing problems with not only our planet, Jupiter, Saturn, Neptune, Uranus. It's causing major problems within the universe. And, you know, I've showed you photos tonight of what happened in Jupiter here in March of 2012. You know, the look of it in 2010 and what it looks like here in March 2012. It's done a total, complete polar shift. But do we have the opportunity here as humanity to have the choice to go down a positive timeline by communicating with these celestial bodies and bringing them in? Now, I didn't do my meditative chant with us this evening. We didn't get to that part because we just had a lot of things to cover tonight. But tonight, I want you to take some time off. When you get off the air tonight, sit back and relax. I'm going to go take Toto out for a walk, and I'm going to think about bringing this thing in so that we do go down a positive timeline, that we do have better hope for humanity. There's a lot of things that we covered tonight, and I thank you very much for listening. We have a lot of shows that we would love you. I want you to tune into Sound Doctrine Ministries. Make sure that you join Minister Kenneth Emmanuel for the Sabbath Hour this Saturday. He will be having some very great information coming out, so definitely join him. Also, this weekend I'm going to take a weekend off. I don't think I'll have a Saturday night show on Truth Frequency. I will be back the following week on Truth Frequency Radio for a special edition of 32 Degrees. I'm going to go and do kind of a walkabout this weekend for myself and get myself back in center so that I can be fresh for you guys for the following week. Remember that I'll be having the CEO of the Pythagoras Conference joining me at the end of the month. Hopefully Laura Eisenhower will be joining me. We've got a lot of great things. Of course, my birthday coming up August 21st here as well. So again, thank you tonight for listening to 32 Degrees of Insanity right here on the Freedomizer Radio Network God bless, and I love you all. Good night.
Slip into my world for a moment. If I could be your girl, I'll never show it. I'll leave it up to you to make that first move and show me you've got nothing to prove. You're under the spotlight, you're under review. I'll be watching you close if you choose to pursue this heart. It's been battered and bruised, but it's waiting to love you. I'll be a moonlight in the depths of a darkest night. If you'll be my sunrise, the beginning to my never-ending story of love and life. Can you paint the picture, my beautiful design? Test the waters and slide yourself closer to me. It's a little harder cause now you're in my territory, but it's alright. I know what it feels like to drop that pride and put your heart on the line. So I give you a chance to sling some romance. Confidence the key, cockiness is your enemy. But you won't find your way in if you try to break in. Gotta take the time, gotta walk the line and show me a sign of intelligent life, or else you're wasting your time. I'll be a moonlight in the depths of your darkest night. If you'll be my sunrise, the beginning to my never-ending story of love and life. Can you paint the picture, my beautiful design? I could be everything that you need, or I could be a catastrophe. I'm not looking for love and leave. Just stick around, you'll find there's so much more.